Practicing reality transurfing can free us from emotional suffering and into emotional freedom. Today, we're going to discuss concepts such as the induced transition, which is where the self-saboteur takes over, and dropping importance, which is also known as dropping attachment to outcome, and other cool concepts which get us back on track and moving up to those ever higher life tracks. Welcome to part 2 of Surfing the Waves with Renee. I am Dee Black, and with me is Reality Transurfing Queen Renee Garcia. Thanks, Renee, for joining us. And I want to thank you so much for being such an excellent role model, because not only are you modeling these concepts, but your understanding and articulation of them, you're helping so many people. And so I just really
thank you for that. I appreciate that, but truth be told, everyone is helping me just as much. You know, I really like this morning, I was actually struggling for maybe about an hour in my morning today, which is not typical of me. And sometimes when I feel like a little down in my mood or start to feel like that a little dip, I can really latch onto it if I'm not careful, because it's a foreign feeling to me now. So if it happens, I can be like, oh my God, why am I feeling bad? And oh, my energy level's low, or, you know, just start having negative thoughts. And I actually read one of the, I don't know if you saw the review that Kimberly Hodges left on the Facebook group for my Mo Money course.
Oh, yes.
Oh, it was a wonderful review. I read it, and I'll tell you what, I just instantly snapped out of my, you know, I was like, oh my God, that's awesome. And it gave me that little, you know, like, okay, there is a reason that I'm keeping my energy up. I'm making things, I'm doing things, I'm connecting with people, I'm trying to help others get out of their hole, I'm helping people come up with new income streams, I'm trying to do everything I can to keep myself high, help others that need it. And then when I get stuff like that, oh, it came just at the right time. I was like, oh, I needed to hear that so much, you know? And then I just grabbed onto it. I grabbed onto it, and I decided that that is going to be the exact energy that I'm going to run on during my day today. You know? So I appreciate the acknowledgement sincerely, and I want everyone to know that you know, is following me or on the Facebook group, or, you know, even just reality transurfers that I don't even know. You guys are all helping me so much too, including you, Dee. Getting on this call with you today, I'm like, cool, I got a really positive review. I'm gonna make some content, and then I get to have my call with Dee. So you know, you gotta just hold on to the good stuff.
Yeah. That I call that a cosmic kiss. You know, when that kind of thing happens, when all of a sudden, right when you need it, you get this cosmic kiss, right?
Oh my gosh, that's a great, can I use that for a video?
Please.
I'm gonna use that, the cosmic kiss. I'm going to use that for a video title, and I know exactly what I'm gonna talk about. And it's exactly this, you know, taking those little bits of goodness and just holding them, you know?
And they come like out of the blue when you most need it or something, or sometimes you don't even need it. You're happy already, and it just gives you another kiss, you know?
Oh, I know.
Notice it, the more they happen, you know?
Yeah, it's so true, you know? And just like me grabbing onto, you know, that little bit of information today, and deciding, you know, that's going to be the tone for my day. It really does change the entire day. You know, rather than allowing myself to stay in my thoughts of, why am I feeling lower energy? Or, you know, oh, another day in the house. You know, that is where it started this morning. I woke up, and that was my first thought, was, oh, another day in the house. And that was the first time really that I had that thought. And you know, if we do it so mindlessly, we don't even realize when we're doing it. And sure enough, I have that thought, oh, another day in the house. And then an hour later, thank God, I wake up and realize, no, wait, what are you doing? Don't waste this amazing day, you know?
Yeah.
So keeping on track, you know?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
So I wanted to get into this whole concept of, emotional suffering, and how, and actually I think it was this morning that you posted the one about the, taking self-responsibility, like no self-help, self-development thing is going to help unless we take the full 100% responsibility, for it. And when the suffering is emotional, we have so much control over that, because it's not like a physical pain. A physical pain is different, if you break your leg or something. But if the pain is emotional, we can take control, right? And so will you talk a little bit about the induced transition, like what that is and how to get out of it?
Yeah, so the induced transition is the antithesis of the wave of fortune. It's the same energetic kind of event, just going in the opposite direction. So where it starts for me is a thought, right? A negative thought. So using again this morning as an example, waking up and thinking, oh no, not another day in the house. This induced transition could start just from that soul thought. So what happens is you latch on to a negative thought, and then what happens is you tune your thought quality, you tune your frequency to the negative. So then what happens after that is you continue, since that's what you're tuned to, you continue to highlight information, material, and evidence in your reality, bringing that sector of reality to materialization that is in tune with your poor thought quality. So if you do this and you don't grab control over it, like again, me saying an hour into my morning, me waking up and being like, oh, wait a second, what am I doing? If I had not done that, what happens for me at least is that whatever I'm tuned to, it presents itself more and more in my external environment exponentially, right? So if I'm tuned to that frequency, it could, I have a negative thought, and then maybe I stub my toe, right? And I say, damn it, why am I having such a bad morning? And then I spill my coffee, then I get an email that I don't like, then something comes in the mail that I don't want to, you know what I'm saying? Then it just all starts to tune. But the reason that more and more is showing up exponentially is because that is the sector of reality that you have chosen, or I have chosen to highlight. So whatever it is that you're tuned towards will increase exponentially, giving you more and more and more. And that's why some people, wake up, years into an induced transition without them even knowing it. I know it's scary to think.
Years is a long time.
Years, well,
decades.
So that's kind of what the generational shift is, right? The generational shift is maybe around that turn of life, right? 40 years old, things start looking dull. You're not maybe having all the opportunities that you had in your 20s and 30s, and you start saying, oh man, is this what life's about? Is this it? And then you've tuned it. And then if you're not aware of what you've done, or you don't take action in the opposite direction, what can happen is a very, very slow induced transition for the rest of your life, essentially. And that's why you get people that are older and angry and dissatisfied with life. That is just a very long-term induced transition, which is what is called the generational shift. But the shorter term ones, I mean, even pre-transurfing me, you know, I realized that like I had good moments in my life where things were looking up, and then 2 years later I'd be like, well, wait a second, why were things so good 2 years ago? And then what happened? Well, I experienced a breakup with a boyfriend, or a business wasn't going the way I wanted it to go, or something, you know, some big event happened in my life. I chose to see it from the negative perspective. I tuned my thought frequency to that thing. And then I continued on my path, highlighting information, material, and evidence that was in line with my thought quality. And sure enough, you know, I get sort of sucked into a track that isn't intended for me, not one that I want, at least. And then eventually, maybe we have the opportunity where we can wake up. But what Vadim presents to us is that we can wake up in the moment or an hour after, right? And realize, no, I don't want it to go like that. I have a choice. And always coming back to that idea that if you are in an induced transition, if you are in a bad mood, if you are in a negative space, if you have a negative mindset, that is simply because, one, you either don't know that you have a choice, now you know, or you do know and you're choosing the lesser of the two options, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That is such a good word, highlight, you know, because what we highlight, it just increases, right? You know, it's like a magnifying glass, almost like what you focus in on gets bigger, right? And, you know, generating evidence, right? Evidence appears everywhere.
Yep. And there's plenty of it. That's the thing, is there is an infinite amount of evidence and material and information in our environment, from the worst to the best. And it is your thought quality and the direction of your thinking that connects with the really bad, the really good, or everything in between. But you have the choice, right? You get to choose, we get to choose. And, you know, real accountability is a truly magical thing. It's just like I was saying on that video this morning. If you think that you're just gonna read a book and then you're set, that's not right. You know.
I read a book, you know, but it's like you went through you went through one recently, right? And it was I think it took you like 36 hours to get out of it. I went through, and that's why I thought, okay, this is a good thing to talk about, you know. And because the thing about it is like you said, the first thing is you have to recognize it and go, this is happening to me right now. I've fallen into this hole right now, you know.
Okay.
So that's the first thing, right? And you want to talk a little bit more about like how, even I like your story about how you got yourself out of it, and like it happened so fast. You know?
Oh my gosh. It was the most radical transurfing I ever had done, because like I said, I'm not really used to being in an induced transition now. I've been transurfing for 5 years, and I'm pretty hip to when that dip starts to happen. I can catch it pretty quickly. And I had been on an induced transition for, I'm going to say a slow kind of thing, because I was sick, and the quarantine thing had just started. I wasn't used to just being at home so much. I'm going to say it was probably about 2 weeks, you know, total, from the very beginning of it to the moment where I thought, nope, that's it. You're not doing this. And it was me going into sort of my ultimate transurfer mode. So what I did was, like you said, I called it out, right? I see myself, I see my reality, I see exactly what's happening right now, right? I have been experiencing an induced transition. So I became absolutely methodical in tuning out anything that was negative. So no negative shows, no negative news. I wasn't going to look at CNN. I wasn't going to interact with people, communicate with people in a negative way. If somebody wanted to talk about the negative stuff that was happening, I would bring it back around to positive. And I just kept, you know, like Vadim talks about in the book, the thought marker, right? Making that that focal point of what it is you are going to keep returning to if you divert or get sidetracked or get pulled away. So my thought marker was, life is beautiful, and I'm going to pull myself out of this induced transition super fast. And anytime I divert from that, I come back and I come back and I come back. And I had my 3 modes of being: either taking action in a positive direction, self-care, self-love mode, or center screen. And that was it. Like, that was it. Anything else, I would feel almost like I was, you know, doing a disservice to myself. And I made it feel like that because I knew that I had to, right? So if boyfriend had the news on and I started to tune in a little, nope, this isn't good for you. It's not good for your reality. It's not going to pull you out of the induced transition. And I would leave the room and then start doing something productive in the office. And I just kept doing that. And sure enough, you know, 36 hours after the fact, I was in a completely different reality. Even though I'm still just in my house in the exact same way I was before, my reality looked entirely different. And then another half a day after that, and I hit the wave of success. And then things just started to happen like pretty rapidly. I got an offer to do something really cool with Transurfing, a new version of my website that's going to be for members, and I've been pouring myself into that. I created a dozen video lessons on every single concept.
Wow, you've done them already? Wow.
Yes, I know, I did those. I recorded my Mo Money course in Arabic. We had it translated, so I had Dee the translator translate it. Now we've got it up for sale in Arabic with all of the written material translated into Arabic. I mean, all kinds of just positive, you know, just produce, create. And if I didn't know what to do, I would just start doing anything. And then sure enough, something would present itself, or somebody would say, hey, have you thought of doing this? And then I'd be like, perfect, let's do it. Let's do it right now. You know? Let's do it right now. And then all of a sudden money started coming in because I was selling these things, you know, and like, I was just like, okay, this is so much better than the other way I was going. You know? So then once I realized that I could flip it like that, then I just kept doing what I was doing. I didn't allow myself like, oh, okay, I'm out of it now. I can watch a little news or, you know, talk with a phone that typically has a negative mindset. I really felt like, you know, it was going in such a good direction. Just keep fueling it with as much positive thought, energy, and action as I possibly could. And, you know, like I said this morning, first time since I hit the wave, I felt a little dip down. And the first thing that I do is I look for something positive I can grab onto, and then I tune to that, you know. It's like turning the dial on a radio and tuning to that channel. It's like, oh, I like that channel better. So then I just tune.
Exactly.
And that was, you know, what, we're at 11:30 now. That was probably about 3 hours ago. And I feel fantastic.
Yeah. You know, I don't know if you're familiar with Bentinho Massaro, but he said something that just really, really works for me. And that is that when we're feeling really bad, like emotionally, it's because the way that we're perceiving something is not the way our higher self perceives it, right? So then when you catch yourself, you go, oh, the way I'm looking at this is not in sync with the way my higher self sees it. So then you can switch to, well, how does my higher self see this, right? And it's like, it's a great way to, like whatever works to get you to realize that, the way we're looking at something is, it's
Yes.
what's making us feel like yucky, right?
Yeah. What part of yourself is seeing your reality through which perspective,
Yeah.
And probably the last year, I've really started to develop this pretty profound connection with my higher self that I never really had before. I mean, I think that's what's allowed me to do a lot of the things that I'm doing now, like getting over my fear of being on camera and doing Transurfing TV. This was me saying to myself, you're not going to approach this thing anymore from this lower version of yourself. You're going to tune yourself to your higher self and let that version of you go after the thing. How that's done exactly, I'm still sort of figuring that out, but it has something to do with being able to at least envision via your imagination, your higher self acting or thinking, like at least what you think you would be like if you were that higher version of yourself in that scenario. And
Right.
usually if you can just, again, kind of tune your frequency to that, then more stuff will come up that you can then grab onto. And it's like riding the bike, right? Once you're up, then it's sort of the gears catch and the things working and you're upright and then you're going. But it's that little bit of a moment in the beginning when it's a challenge.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, the best way to connect with that higher version of yourself is via action. If you're struggling with a perspective that you have and you're like, maybe, oh gosh, I don't feel like I'm the highest version of myself right now, and I do need to change my mindset, and what can I do? Well, just start acting in the direction that you perceive your the higher version of you to be acting. Like,
Right.
go and do something of high frequency, right?
Right.
Go help somebody or make something or be creative, or go and tend to something in your garden that needs, just like act in the opposite direction. And then you're tuned to that variation of reality. And then maybe more opportunities will present themselves for you to connect. And then you can get yourself into a different perspective. But I think it takes action. You can't just do it with your mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. I think you mentioned earlier about the center screen and this situation that's happening right now with the lockdown. Isn't that a huge example of the outer screen?
Oh, yes.
Like big time.
So, absolutely. And, I'm seeing lots of very interesting things happening, right? The Facebook analytics are down, like people aren't engaging the same way. I can see the numbers of posts and comments and all that stuff, and they keep going down like day and day, they keep going down. And I think what is happening is people are getting so sucked into the outer screen that they're losing themselves, and they're losing touch with what they typically like to do, because the outer screen is distracting them. And in that distraction, they're also experiencing energy loss. So even if they think like, oh, well, I like to do this thing, because that's one thing I've been hearing from so many people, people really being lethargic, oversleeping, overeating, smoking weed, drinking alcohol, you know, laying around, not exercising. I mean, these are all kind of like low resonating frequency, you know, things. And I think that all of this stuff is coming about via low energy levels and getting taken away from what typically provides people maybe with a little heart and mind coordination or energy, because they are just resonating and existing in that center screen to the point where they've kind of lost touch with themselves and their life, you know, and their trajectory. And, you know, it's dangerous because again, your original, you know, your original topic that you brought up, the induced transition, that person is ripe for getting a pendulum to just, I mean, they're already hooked up in a pendulum, right?
Right.
But your energy levels are low like that, and you have low energy levels, and you're making matters worse by not exercising, not eating right, smoking weed and drinking and all that kind of stuff. You are just ripe for a pendulum, another one to come in and just completely bottom you out and go on an induced transition that may last until, you know, the thing's over with. I hope not, you know, because this is the other thing about the induced transition that I like to tell people is, so if you got your baseline reality, this is just kind of like you feeling normal, good, you have your normal energy levels, and then you go on an induced transition where you dip down to some of those lower tracks, have low energy, all that stuff. It takes you energy and time to get yourself back up out of that hole. So when the whole thing sort of mends itself and quarantine's released and we, you know, quote, go back to normal, people aren't going to just go back to normal. They're going to have to spend time and energy working themselves back out of that hole just to get themselves to ground zero, let alone, you know, try to catch the wave of success or get on some of those higher tracks again. So, and I think the longer you're down there at those low levels, the harder it is to get out, you know?
Yeah. Well, people are spending more time with themselves, you know, and it's like how that time is used, you know, with yourself, you know, and I guess like some people have, you know, are with other family members and everything, but it's so totally different. Some people have actually said that it's a form of torture to be, you know, like, you know, confined to your home and like having like your freedoms taken away, freedoms that you're not used to being taken away. So it depends on how that is looked at and how that is processed, right? And what we, you know, how we identify, you know, what we are, you know, like who are you, right? You know, and who are you and who's in control of your experience and your reality, you know?
Oh, totally. Absolutely. I'm going to actually show you something that it was part of a video that I just did. Oh, hang on 1 second. Let me pull it up. Okay, put it in the...
Awesome.
So, I did a video on beliefs and labels, right? Labels that we give ourselves and how these beliefs form out of these labels. And then so I'll show you the little graph and then I'll explain it. I'll hold it up here so people
Okay.
Can you see? Oh, I don't think, since my background, it won't show it. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I'll just explain it.
Okay.
So we have these belief cycles, okay? And what the belief cycle is it's like a label that you apply to yourself. Okay, so let's say somebody right now that's struggling to get themselves up off the couch and do something, and they say, well, I'm just not an ambitious person and I'm lazy, or something like that, right? So this belief, this label creates this belief about yourself. And then this belief is what what amounts itself to in regards to your perceived level of potential. Okay, so you have your belief,
Right.
let's say your belief is low, right? I'm lazy. So therefore you feel like you have a minimal amount of potential. That minimal amount of potential is where you act from, but
Right.
you don't take much action because that potential is limited. So then that action or lack thereof creates a, sorry about that, that action creates a result. And since you're not taking much action, you don't see much result. And then that result reinforces that original belief.
Right.
And it just keeps cycling
Yeah.
around like that. And it's horrible if you think about it, because a lot of times we choose labels, or maybe we don't even choose them, right? Maybe somebody called you lazy when you were a kid, or you adhered to a label of a group of people that all thought in the same direction, and you just never got that off of you. But if you can replace a negative label with a positive one,
Mm-hmm.
and up that belief about yourself, that amount of potential grows. From that potential, you can take more action because you believe that you can. And then that action creates a result that then reinforces that better belief. And all you need is one round. All you need is one cycle of that. Because as soon as you get some confirmation to support that new belief, then you're going in the better direction.
Yeah.
Right? So it's easy, but the first point is that you gotta acknowledge that negative label first.
Yeah.
You know? And I think that's a challenge for most people.
Yeah.
So.
And, like for me, it's kind of really fun that we actually have the ability, because, we know all this stuff about how we create our own reality, and basically our reality is our experience, right? Like everybody's life is their experience. Like that's what their life is how they experience it, right? So it's like we actually have the ability that we can go like, I just love to play the whole concept like we're all infinite beings, and we're all ascending as humanity, and like no matter what is happening, we know what we really are, and that we can keep our vibe up, and that all that kind of stuff. And it's like it feels like really fun to just look at it that way and experience it that way, and that we can, and it seems to me like more and more people are understanding that fear is the virus. I find it very interesting that the mainstream media does not say anything about the fact of how fear is the real virus, because they want to keep people in fear, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so it's like they're not. So it's like I don't trust a media that is not going to be supporting people's holistic health and that kind of thing, So the thing about it is like, sorry, they're not going to get us, right? It's like I don't really know what is happening here, but we are keeping our vibe up, and we will not be defeated, and you can't get our energy, and somebody had said that like some people are saying they're trying to take away our freedom of speech because different people that are saying their opinions about things are being banned from YouTube and stuff, right? Because anybody who says something opposite to the narrative is being banned, right? But the thing about that is that our speech, our freedom of speech can never be taken away from us, because our speech is our vibration and our energy, right? And so it's like, that's the one thing that can't be taken away from us. Like whatever, however we're confined or whatever is happening, we are in charge of our own vibe and our own energy, as long as we have that awareness, and that choice,
Totally. So getting back to my little chart that I was just presenting. So this is a belief that you have that has created a potential that you feel you obtain, tap into,
right.
and then you will act from that, right?
Right.
You will know that you have the power to maintain your frequency or your vibration. You have the power to turn off the news,
Right.
You have the ability to focus on all the positive, all these things that you just talked about,
Right.
and then you will act in that direction that will create a result
Right.
that will then reinforce your belief, and you have a little bit of insurance for yourself then, right? Because your belief system is circling in a positive direction rather than the opposite, which none of us really want to have. But it is so fascinating, the two different camps of people, really, the people that are being fearful, and then the people that are realizing, I don't have to do that if I don't want to. You know,
have power.
I know.
We create our reality, for God's sake.
Oh, I know, exactly. And I think if somebody could just sort of form one new belief for themselves today that would help, is that I can create my own reality. You know, I can create my own reality. Then you have that potential there to be able to do so. You act from that. Then you get a result out of that action, and then you back up your theory about yourself, and then you're sort of safeguarded from, you know, going down, because you have a belief system that protects you a little bit, you know?
Right. Yeah. And one of the other things that I wanted to address was, tell me about your tattoo.
Which one?
Yeah, dropping importance.
Oh, yes. I have a number of tattoos.
Oh, do you? What else do you have?
I'm actually quite tatted up myself. But I have them all hidden.
Right.
Because I want to be able to wear short sleeves like this.
Yes.
So if I wear short sleeves, you would never know that I have any tattoos.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Yes. I have drop importance on my rib here.
Right.
In Russian. Isn't that a cool tattoo? I love that one.
I love it. Yeah.
And then I have some over here. I got God is love in Arabic.
Oh, cool.
And I've got fortunate in French. And then I have magical freedom on my arms in French, upside down.
Oh, I love it.
And then I've got
freedom.
Huge piece back here that's a blue rose, and it signifies achieving what you once thought was impossible.
Ooh, wow!
So I've got a bunch of reality. Yeah. It's my little code. It's my reminder to myself. Yeah. Because my tattoos are really about me reinforcing a message to myself. So, you know, whenever I'm out of the shower and I'm looking at the mirror, I can see all my messages.
Yeah.
Tuning my frequency, you know, so it's kind of hard to get off track when you actually got it tattooed on your body.
Yes, yes. And you know, like this thing about dropping importance is so key, because it's you know, it's also known as you know, dropping attachment to outcome, because the thing about it is when we have put so much importance on something, it just creates, well, I guess Vadim calls it, what does he call it? Negative
excess potential.
Sorry?
Excess potential.
Yeah, excess potential, right? And it's like that thing of you know, it's a clinging, right? Like anybody who has a clinging, desperate energy, it's a big turn off, right? And the universe is turned off by that too, right?
Oh God, yes, the universe always seeks balance. So if you create an energetic imbalance via your thoughts about something, the universe will actually look to eradicate that imbalance that you've created. So this is why you always get what you actively don't want, right? Or this is why if you want something so much, it seems like your world's actually working against you. Like, you know, you've put huge excess potential on your wedding day and then it rains, right? Or you need to get somewhere super fast, so you're speeding and then you get pulled over by the cop. Right? It's like all those kinds of things. It's like your world will figure out a way to eradicate that imbalance that you've created. So the best thing to do is to try to go towards what it is you intend to have with lower levels of importance, and then your world won't be triggered that you have created some imbalance, and you'll have an easier time on the way to that thing. And it is, I mean, it, you know, I actually find it so funny now when balancing forces comes for me, because
yes, goes to the jugular.
Yes, exactly. Because you know, in the past, like before I was a transurfer and things like that would happen, I would always be like, what is going on here? Why did this happen? What? I don't understand. Like, everything was going so well, and I was so intent on this thing, and then why did it all of a sudden seem to fall apart? Right. And now I know when it falls apart, I know exactly, like I can go back and I can be like, oh, of course, you know, of course I created excess potential. And now when I do it, I actually find it entertaining and kind of funny, because it's like my reality reminding me, hello, there's balancing forces still, you know. Don't, just because you think you create your own reality now doesn't mean that you're immune, you know. So even once in a while I'll get, you know, some huge you know, balancing force that comes through, and then I get reminded, and I'm like, oh, of course, you know.
And that is creating our reality, because when we do that, we're creating our reality the way we don't want it, because we're doing it. So like, no matter what anybody does, and whether they believe it or know it or not, about any, just like the law of attraction is just a basic law that, you know, and it's what you feel, you know, is what your like vibration. But so even that, like when people say like, well, I didn't intend, you know, I didn't intend for this to happen or whatever. Like, not that you didn't say, like, no one said like, let's have a lockdown where everybody's locked up in their home, or, you know what I mean? Like, we never.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Oh, I know. And I gave this lesson in one of my 78 days videos, where Vadim made a statement that said, listen, just because you have the tools to create your own reality now doesn't mean that nothing is ever going to go awry. Right? It doesn't mean that there's going to be no problems. It doesn't mean that things aren't going to not go your way once in a while. And I think that is where people get confused about what reality creation is. I've been getting so many messages from people saying, why is this happening? I didn't create this. Who's creating this? Is this a collective slide? Is this, is this that? And it's like, listen, first of all, you're getting involved in a pendulum. If you're going to sit there and try to figure out why this is happening, you'll never know exactly why this is happening. But in the end, it doesn't even really matter. And you didn't create it. Nobody necessarily created it, or who knows, maybe they did. But regardless, you have the tools to be happy with whatever reality is giving you now. That's your duty as a transurfer to yourself. It's not to wonder why things look a specific way. I mean, there are going to be lots of things that play out in our lifetime, and lots of things that have played out throughout history that people didn't have any control over. I mean, tsunamis, natural disasters, tornadoes. You know, it's not that somebody's sitting there trying to manifest a tornado. Right.
Because the thing is that it's not what's happening, it's how we are processing it. That's reality. So when you know, people say you create your reality, they're not saying the outside circumstances, because your reality is your experience. So our reality is how we process and interpret and experience and relate to what is happening. You know, because what's happening is the external screen, right?
Exactly. And this is where advantage is huge.
Yes.
You know? It's like if reality truly is just your interpretation of it, right? and you get to choose how you are going to interpret events. Let's say this one is perfect example. The lower version of me could be on the couch, watching the news, watching bad TV, smoking weed every day, overeating, thinking negative thoughts, fighting with my boyfriend over, you know, us just being confined in the house. That variation of reality absolutely does exist if I went in that direction, right?
Yeah.
But the variation that I have grabbed onto is a variation that is a materialization of me choosing to see the advantage in everything just the way that it is, you know? And really like, okay, well, cool. If, so the real estate business is totally shut down, and now I would just be getting into real estate, right? Spring and summer. So real estate's shut down. I have more time to do my transurfing stuff now. I'm going to offer more courses. I'm going to make more videos for Transurfing TV. I'm going to write more things. I'm going to get involved in more projects. I'm going to do things like this, right? I have a lot more time to do this, whereas I could very much just be on the couch sad because I'm not going to be getting my real estate profits this year, you know? So it's just about switching it around, and there's always benefit. There's always advantage. Maybe you might not be able to see it in that moment, but it's there, right? There's always some positive way you could spend anything and see it to your advantage. But most people don't know that, you know?
You know, one of the things I noticed too is like because we have this social distancing thing, right? So like when you're passing people, like you have to keep a certain distance. But what I'm noticing is that, you know, more and more of us are saying hi to each other than we ever did before. Because before, like, you know, you'd pass people and you wouldn't really look at them. But now it's like, oh, now because we can't, we're like, oh, hi, how are you? You know, and like we don't even know these people and you pass them and whatever. And it's like, there's like, because people need connection, right? So because we're not allowed to have this connection, now we're sort of making it at further distances where we normally even wouldn't have. And I hope that stays, right? I hope that, you know, goes back, that we keep that going, because they're like little things like that is, oh, that's really cool. And there seems to be like some kind of like an invisible connection with strangers that seems to have increased somehow. You know?
I know exactly what you're talking about. When I walk my dog, I live on a walking path that goes through the entire city. It's like 5 miles long.
Oh,
and
lovely.
It's really nice. It's got trees and it's paved, and it goes through the most, you know, desirable neighborhoods in my town. And there's so many people out walking the corridor, and everybody's being so friendly. You know, everybody's being so friendly, and like you said, everybody's like saying hi, and you know, I'm saying, well, I'm typically asking people how they're doing and saying hi and stuff like that, but I'm getting like a lot friendlier responses from people, you know, and I'm like, oh, this is cool. Or like people stopping and like, oh, your dog's so cute, you know, people actually wanting to take the time to engage now, you know. Time. I know. I'm actually loving quarantine. I'm calling it my staycation rather than quarantine.
Oh, I love that.
It's a long staycation. It's an indefinite staycation.
Well, you know, and the whole thing is like we have our needs met. Like we have power, we have water, we have food. Like we have, so it's not like, you know, like it's like the only thing is, you know, we're not allowed to go out, and we're not allowed to, you know, we can't go to restaurants or whatever kind of thing. But it's not like, you know, and actually like my mom, you know, my mom just passed away. It'll be 2 years next week, actually. No, in a 2 days now. But she like, you know, she went through a lot, like when she was a child, like bombs were falling and stuff like, so like, I just like feel her, she's saying to me, that's nothing, you know,
Oh,
you know, like what you're going through is nothing, man. You know, and like how we have to stand in line to go to get groceries and they only live in a
oh,
my mom had to stand in line for hours for a piece of, you know, like dry bread, you know.
I know.
She's like laughing at us going, oh, you people think you're suffering.
Oh, I know. I know. I mean, we have some people on the Facebook group that are living in like Syria, Yemen, Iraq, you know, and I'm telling people this all the time actually. I'm like, listen, we have been beyond privileged living here in the US,
Yes.
or in Canada, or
Yeah.
in parts of Europe.
Yeah.
We don't ever have to worry about experiencing active war, right? We don't ever, like you said, waiting in lines,
Yeah.
right? I mean, look at like communist Russia, what people had to go through to get basic, you know, some potatoes and some bread.
Yeah.
People
Yeah.
just aren't, you know, this whole thing with the toilet paper, it's like, how many thousands of years have human beings existed without toilet paper? You know, I mean,
like why toilet paper?
I know, exactly. The perspective is so, the focal point of the perspective has been so, you know, it's so pinpointed that I don't think people realize we have been dealing with adversity for much more of our existence than we haven't been, right?
Mm-hmm.
Human life now is, this has been the only time that things have actually been, you know, like you can go to a grocery store and just walk in and there's thousands and thousands and thousands of items that you can just walk up and take. I mean, how long has this been around? Not very long, you know. But yes, it's a very interesting conversation because I think it shows how people have, I don't want to say taken for granted, but they aren't valuing the experiences of our prior generations. Like you said, your mom, right?
Yeah.
She waited in line and
Yeah.
bombs flying overhead. It's like, come on, everyone. It's still not that bad.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, if this is as bad as it gets, I mean, you know, it's like, but you know, I mean, I can still go outside, and I actually think that more people more people are like hiking and walking than ever before. I think because it's like, well, you can't go to the restaurant, you might as well go hiking or something, you know. So it's like, it seems like in some sense, some people are getting more exercise. You know, some people maybe are going one way where they're on the couch a lot, but others are like, well, I can't go to the movies, I can't go to the restaurants, I can't go, you know, to shows or whatever. I might as well go walking, right?
Yeah.
So it's like.
Yeah, and you know, this is like kind of one of my basic points that I live by and that I teach in all of my different courses that I give in one way or another is stop looking at what you don't want and look at what you strive to achieve instead. So if you're having a negative romantic relationship, what are you focusing on that you don't want that's creating that scenario? And how could you act in a direction of what you strive to achieve instead, rather than resonating with something that you don't want? It's the same for money. It's the same for time. It's the same for this scenario. It's for anything, right? So for people that are looking at all the stuff that they don't like and they don't want and they can't do, right? I can't go to the movies. I can't go to the grocery store or the restaurants. There's lines at the grocery store. I don't like that. I'm in my house. I don't like that. What can you do to fill those thoughts with something that you like instead? You know? So I have gone from being a person that focuses more on things that I don't like and what I don't want to being a person now that focuses on what I do like and what I do want and what I can do, you know? So, okay, I'm at home. I can create a bunch of content, you know? I can create all kinds of stuff. I can do this and I can do that and I can, you know? but it's that mindset that I feel is keeping me happy.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I got stuff I can focus on. You
Yeah.
know, it's a beautiful world.
Yes, it is a beautiful world. It really, really is. There's so much beauty. And like the sky is so beautiful and sunny and birds are singing and, you know, spring
I
is coming.
know.
We still have a little, I think well, we had more snow yesterday. Yeah, there's a few patches of snow, but I think you guys are full bloom now, right? With flowers
Oh,
thing, but
full bloom. And
oh,
I live in a part of California that typically is there's a pretty heavy smog layer above us.
oh,
And the sky is just crystal clear and the air quality is superb. And yes,
yeah.
all the flowers are blooming and the birds are out, and it is just absolutely lovely outside. And yesterday, my boyfriend and I have a sauna in my backyard. We were in the sauna and we were laying around in the backyard just amongst all the trees and looking at the sky. And I'm just like, man, this is a pretty good life, you know. You can entertain yourself if you want to.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You don't have to sit and watch the news all day. And
Yeah.
that's that I think is the biggest you know, that's the whole thing with the media is quite ugly, and the fact that they're just wanting to perpetuate fear and all that stuff, and they're not looking out for anyone's best interests.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you're watching the news and you can turn it off and go do something positive instead, that alone will entirely help you in your reality. You know, it's just stopping with the media, because it is a bum deal for sure, you know.
Yeah. And it's like like, I'm sorry, but I'm not letting them tell me how to feel and how to think and how to process my world and how to see the world and all that stuff. Like, I refuse to give them that power. And I always have been like that. Like, you know, ever since I've been a young adult, I was just never interested in the news because I just found it to be a real bummer, right? And it's, you know, and I don't care if people think like, and it's like, well, you have, you know, people think that that's what you have to do to be informed, right? Well, it's like, what do you want to be informed about, right? Like, I can be informed about things by looking at things that I'm interested in, you know?
Yeah, informed about what? I mean, my grandfather and I are endlessly getting into this debate. You know, I talked to him the other day on the phone, and so negative, you know, and so angry, and I said, Grandpa, gotta stop with the news, because it's literally on from 4:30 in the morning until 10:30 at night, all day long.
Oh my God.
It is horrible. And his mindset is so negative, and he's living in his own hell right now, you know. And I say, Grandpa, why don't you turn off the news and go out into the garden and do something? Well, you know, Renee, if everybody did what you did, then nobody would know what was going on and the whole world would just be chaos and blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking, so you know what the news is saying now. What is it actually doing to change your reality, your physical and real reality in the moment? Like, are you taking action in a different direction because you heard something on the news? No. And that's the thing. It doesn't tune anybody's thought quality to a better frequency, and it doesn't inspire anyone to take positive action.
Yeah.
So what is being informed actually doing?
Exactly.
You know? It's a shame. It is.
Yeah.
I think if we, you know, and I'm all for freedom of speech, believe me, I understand the value of maintaining our freedom of speech, but I think, just like I said on one of my videos, the media is the virus, you know?
But you know what? They don't have freedom of speech because people who are saying other things are being deleted from YouTube. Okay, so people who are having positive messages and people who are giving an alternative to the narrative that the media is misleading people are being shut down. So the freedom of, they're trying to take away the freedom of speech, you know, and this is where I'm saying, well, they can't take away our speech, because our freedom of speech, because our true speech is our vibration, right? And our energy, right? So they can go ahead and shut down, you know, like people who post things about holistic healing, they call that dangerous information, you know, because they say that it's misleading people, right? And stuff like that. And so it's like, it's not freedom of speech. So people who think that they're listening to the media to get informed, they're being informed by what they want to instill in people, right?
Oh,
But I mean, I don't really want to look at that, because I go like, hey, well, that's not you know, I mean, even the fact that I'm saying that is putting me in a bad vibe, right? Because it's kind of,
I know, it's a trip.
you know what I mean? I don't want to go there.
I know, it's such a weird polarized, oh, sorry about that. My dog's barking. It's such a weird, I just feel it really is like this vortex that there's nothing good there. There is nothing to be had. If that is the cost of you being informed,
right?
No thanks, you know.
Yeah.
So I know what a sad state of events with the media. But you know, you can't fight it. You just got to turn away and go do your own thing and just ignore it to the best of your ability, you know?
Yeah. And I do think more and more people are realizing that, like more and more people than ever are not, you know, paying attention to the mainstream news, you know, than ever before. So I think that there is a shift happening, and a, you know, ascension happening in as far as humanity goes. Like we're taking back our power, you know, where instead of being told, you will now think about this, you will now be outraged about that, you will now fear this, you will now look at how horrible what happened over there that is, that's been going on like for centuries or decades or whatever. And now more and more people are saying, well, you know, I'm putting my attention somewhere else, you know. And so that's good. I think it's all part of the shift that's happening, or, you know, that has already, it's happening since the 80s, you know. There was the harmonic convergence that happened in the 80s, and it's been and then there was the 2012 thing, everything that's like a gradual thing, but it's like the light of the collective is increasing, you know, and that's really exciting to watch, you know, and to be a part of and to align with. Like, that's what I'm aligned with. I'm aligned with the light of the collective consciousness is increasing, and you know, we're all getting our power back like never before. So that's really, you know,
we are creating options for ourselves, you know. And that is really amazing. I mean, we have options. So for those of you out there that think you don't have any options, you got more than you think, you know. But if anything, just accept that there are different versions of reality, and you get to choose, you know. And that's kind of the bottom line of it. It's like there's a TV with different channels. Which channel are you going to turn to?
Right.
You know? Or a radio station. So it helps.
And you can choose whatever reality you want. Like, I mean, you can, because you can choose to feel however you want to feel, and then however you feel, that's what you're going to be resonating with, and that's that's the cosmic kisses are going to be coming.
Oh, I love that, the cosmic kisses. I can't wait to do my cosmic kiss video.
Well, I guess our time is up now. This was so much fun, Renee. I love chatting with you and your wisdom, and I was going to say too about your reality, your International Transurfing Institute Facebook groups. It's just growing and growing and growing, right? And
I know. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. It's so cool. And it's so fun to watch people like come in and try to make sense of transurfing and all that stuff. And it's a great resource, and it's a tool for me. I mean, I know a lot of people thank me for creating the group and all that stuff, and I appreciate the acknowledgement for sure. But I use it just as much as a tool as anybody else does. If I start to notice, you know, maybe I'm focusing on something that isn't super positive, I'll go and check the Facebook group and read some positive posts and things about transurfing, and just bring my thoughts back to, you know, where I want them to be. So it's a resource for me as well. But if anyone out there needs to have a community of support for keeping your thought quality high. And we're doing the 30 anomalous action challenge now in the group. Everybody's taking a step a day outside of their comfort zone, and it's just fun. It's something to do. It's something positive to be involved in. So thank you so much for being a member there, Dee.
Yeah, I love it. And it's so empowering because like the concepts, the reality transurfing and the Tufty, the priestess concepts and all that, they're so empowering, right? And uplifting, and it's great to be in this community of people who are resonating with that. And also, like, I'll put a link to this information below, and like, if you haven't yet, like, watch Renee's videos, because you have such an understanding and a clear articulation of these concepts and principles, and your sharings, and then your examples of how you apply them to your life. It's like, I really, really appreciate it. And so many people do. And so just keep doing what you're doing, Renee. It's awesome.
Yeah, I'm in it. I'm going to keep doing it, especially now, right? I mean,
what else are you going to do?
Exactly. I
lost 3 pounds.
I know. I'm like, oh, that wave of fortune was pretty nice.
No couch potato. So
I think I put it back on, though, because I kind of got back into the Easter candy right around.
Oh, yeah.
That's okay. I'll transurf them off.
Yeah. Okay, honey. We'll talk to you again soon. And
sounds good.
And love you so much.
Thanks for having me on. Bye,
Thanks.
everybody.
See you. Bye, everybody.